The 2024 election revealed a seismic shift in American voter sentiment. Trump's decisive victory underscores a message to the Democratic Party that cannot be ignored. Traditional polling missed key metrics, the party's primary process alienated its own voters, and ongoing economic mismanagement led many Americans to look elsewhere for leadership. As a result, the Republican Party not only secured the presidency, but also gained ground across Congress, exposing the core weaknesses in the Democratic Party's strategy and policies. Polls missed the mark on voter sentiment. Most 2024 polls failed to capture the frustrations of American voters. Many skewed results by excluding undecided voters or using biased wording. The shy voter effect, first observed in 2016, remained prevalent. Trump supporters felt pressured to stay silent, skewing predictions. Social media data showed higher engagement around economic concerns. This mismatch created a gap that polls couldn't bridge. Discontent with the primary process. The Democratic Party's handling of the primary process left many voters disenfranchised. In 2016, Bernie Sanders was controversially sidelined in favor of Hillary Clinton, a pattern repeated in 2020 with Joe Biden over more progressive voices. In 2024, Kamala Harris's appointment without a primary fueled similar frustrations. This approach alienated many Democratic and independent voters. A worsening economic record. Under Biden and Harris, the U.S. economy saw its steepest inflation since the early 1980s. Massive stimulus packages and expanded domestic programs drove federal spending to record highs. The M2 money supply ballooned by over $5 trillion, fueling inflation. Wage growth lagged, leaving many Americans with less real income. Green energy policies hurt manufacturing and energy sectors. The U.S. saw more than 19,000 manufacturing jobs lost in October alone. Reluctance to support domestic oil and gas production increased energy prices, hurting low-income families. Foreign policy, a double-edged sword. Foreign policy under Biden and Harris included unprecedented military aid commitments, particularly to Ukraine and, more recently, support for Israel, totaling hundreds of billions of dollars. While aimed at preserving global stability, these expenditures raised questions at home. In Pew Research polling, nearly 56% of Americans expressed concerns that U.S. international spending on conflicts abroad detracts from essential domestic investments. Voters saw funding poured into international alliances and military support, while their own communities struggled with underfunded healthcare, housing, and infrastructure. Geopolitical decisions have also strained American economic interests. Relations with China, America's largest trade partner, reached new lows as tariffs and diplomatic tensions escalated, impacting industries from agriculture to tech. The effect on the American economy was noticeable, with several large manufacturers facing supply shortages and export restrictions, further weakening sectors like automotive and electronics that rely on Chinese components. The Harris campaign's focus on cultural issues and media appearances over economic stability alienated a broad swath of voters. The campaign leaned heavily into social media endorsements, high-profile podcast appearances, and celebrity events. But this strategy missed the mark, with middle-income Americans more concerned with day-to-day economic pressures. Campaign resources that could have been used for outreach in swing states were instead allocated to media appearances that had limited impact on voter engagement. In battleground states like Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan, voter concerns centered on job security, healthcare, and inflation, issues that the Harris campaign consistently failed to address with tangible solutions. This misalignment between the campaign's messaging and voter priorities led to significant losses in key counties that Democrats previously held, amplifying a sense of disconnect with blue-collar voters. The Democratic Party's struggles extended beyond the presidential race. Republican gains in the Senate and House show voter disillusionment with Democratic policies. This shift signals a desire for fiscal responsibility and leadership that aligns with everyday concerns. Many voters saw the Democratic approach as out of touch with their needs. The 2024 election is a referendum on the Democratic Party's governance. This election underscores that the Democratic Party must rethink its strategy and reconnect with its base. Americans want practical solutions, not political theater. The Democratic Party's approach of focusing on social issues, bypassing primary debates, and relying on celebrity endorsements has proven ineffective in the face of economic hardship and public discontent. The failure to address tangible concerns and the decision to circumvent the primary process in 2024 exemplify a disconnect that voters could not overlook. To regain trust, Democratic leadership will need to realign its priorities with those of the American people. This means tackling inflation, supporting energy independence, promoting fair trade practices, and prioritizing domestic investments over foreign commitments. Only by addressing these key issues can the party hope to win back the confidence of voters who feel abandoned. The 2024 election outcome is a stark warning to the Democratic Party. Voters demand real, accountable leadership that addresses their concerns. The strategy of telling Americans what they should care about, rather than listening to their actual priorities, has clearly failed. The American people have sent a message. They want transparency, responsibility, and leaders who prioritize their well-being over ideology. If the Democratic Party wishes to rebuild and succeed in future elections, it must abandon the echo chambers and virtue signaling and instead engage directly with the electorate on the issues that matter most. Failure to do so will only deepen the divide between the party and the people it aims to serve.